Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Apologies for absconding from the various classes that were arranged for me, but like most ISKCON sannyasis, I lead a very stressful life, spiritually stressful, and there's always more things to do than time to do it in. So please excuse me. Thank you for being so enthusiastic to provide engagement for me, and I regret my inability to keep up with your enthusiasm. Radhe Shamprabhu told me that there are many questions you have to ask in the Brahmachari class, but I always find that whatever questions come on the topic of Brahmacharya, they're already answered in this book. I made this book quite a few years ago, and there really isn't much more to say. There isn't really much more to say apart from what's in. I mean, there could be more details, to get into details of diet and all this kind of thing, but the essence of Brahmacharya is not based on diet. Obviously, a lot of salt and chilies is not good. But then again, it's with different Ayurvedic doctors, you'll find they say different things also, so it becomes confusing. So the things that are very clear: don't eat too much, especially don't eat heavy meals at night. Someone's feeling disappointed. Strike. You're recording this? Is that in MP3 format? Okay, I'll take it from you afterwards. Alright, forget this. Alright, what are the questions? See if you can stump the Swami.
Maharaj, when someone enters Brahmachari ashram, initially there is a lot of struggle in terms of controlling the senses.
Maybe, not in every case.
So
not necessarily. True.
So when there is...
In some cases it may be.
So
if there's a lot of struggle to control the senses, then probably he's premature. It shouldn't be so difficult.
The thing is that senses remain controlled for a while, and after a while, then again there is a
relapse.
Yeah. And the struggle is there, so there is a kind of, one may lose hope to altogether that I will become a brahmachari, I will be able to stay a brahmachari, when such things happen quite often. So what should be the,
Let's see.
What should be...
Okay, give me the Brahmachari book and we'll see if I can find the page. And where is it? Appearance and dress, semen, health, engagement. Where is that? It's in here somewhere. There's a long section here. Overcoming sexual desire, but it refers to all sensual desires. Alright, I just opened on this page. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna admits that it's very difficult to curb the restless mind, but assures that it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. What's that verse? Asangshayang mahabaho manodo nigraham chalam abhyasena tu kauntaya vairagyena chagrihyate. Traditionally, brahmacharis were trained rigidly from birth. That was when the whole atmosphere was much more favorable for spiritual advancement. But we have been brought up in a highly disturbed society with no training in sense control. Rather the opposite. We're trained in sense indulgence. It's not really training, it's training. There's no training, it's the natural perverted proclivity of the conditioned soul to indulge the senses. How is it possible then for us to control the mind and senses and be rigid brahmacharis? No doubt it is very difficult to control the mind and senses, especially in the modern age, when the atmosphere is very bad and we are also manda sumanda mati. We don't have the good background of people in the past. So internally and externally we're in a disadvantaged situation. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. Unless we at least try, we are not even civilized human beings. What to speak of being spiritual aspirants? And certainly Krishna will help us if we really want to be helped. And on and on and on. So, please read this. It's a matter of application also. This book should help. It's meant for that. And also the subject matter therein we can discuss among ourselves, as you're doing now. We should have faith that Krishna is more powerful than Maya. Devi hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya me tantarantite. If we don't have faith that Krishna can help us and will help us, then that's verging on atheism. We should have faith that however hopeless we feel, that Krishna will help us. Krishna is stronger than Maya. And that if we do apply ourselves to the process, Krishna will help us. It requires faith to go through the tests and difficulties. Dhruva Maharaj was beset by the apparently unassailable weapons of the yakshas, but then by taking the weapon from Lord Narayan, he could understand it's all simply an illusion. So you're in the right place, you're in the right atmosphere, and we have to be steady. We shouldn't be disappointed that we're not perfect brahmacharis. That's understandable. If some lusty thoughts come in our mind or whatever wrong thoughts, we shouldn't become hopeless because of that. If we were free from such desires, then we'd be just like Shukdev Goswami. We wouldn't need to be in any ashram at all. We're here for purification. That means it's admitted that we are in need of purification, that we're not pure. So we shouldn't become disappointed. Keep on going. How dangerous is laziness for a brahmachari? Laziness is not at all a good quality. I remember hearing a lecture, Prabhupada was speaking about this, and laziness is very bad, materially and spiritually, both. Even materially, if you want to do anything, then laziness is not at all acceptable. How to overcome it? You have a problem overcoming laziness? It's surprising. In an ashram, the temple commander makes sure everyone's not beset by laziness. There should be no scope. Everyone should be stressed out. Lots of service. Yeah, spiritual. It's good to have lots. It's much better to have lots of service than no service. We're not against being stressed. Be stressed for Krishna. One devotee told me, this was years ago, that he was doing pujari service regularly and he was quite happy, and then the GBC came and said, "You're too content. I'm putting you in charge of organizing the Rath Yatra. An interesting one. Can we use soya bean vinegar, yeast in our temple? What did Srila Prabhupada say about this? About soya beans, he said to Hridayananda Maharaj said that Prabhupada said we shouldn't use them. They're not offerable to Krishna. About vinegar, he used the word nasty, as far as I remember. Yeast, Srila Prabhupada was also against the use of that. Exactly the context I don't remember, but there's a letter from him in this regard. So the answer is no, no, and no. Can we use? You can use, but you can offer to Gaur Nitai, and they might stand and look at it and just turn around and run away. You know? Then, what else?
One is, as you were saying that in Brahmachari ashram, struggle is there. So Maharaj, there's an observation, and sometimes devotee reveals that after years, sometimes the old habits keeps on troubling, like a habit of masturbation, specifically.
Purva sanskar, very difficult. Well, Gopinath, Mama Nivedana Shuno. This song is amazing, how Bhaktivinoda Thakur he's almost blaming Krishna. Eki vichar tava, vimukha dekhiya, what is it? Charo nijajane, na koro na laba. He's blaming Krishna. I'm your devotee, I'm your servant, and you're just neglecting me. What's this? He can talk like that. We don't have the right to do so, but it's like a desperate plea to Krishna, isn't it? So what should we do? Well, we shouldn't give up trying to serve Krishna. That's the only hope. We should go on serving Krishna despite our inabilities and drawbacks. We should go on serving and pray to Krishna to remove these very difficult coverings, and have faith that those who we've seen in this movement, that those who try to serve Krishna despite various setbacks, and that ultimately Krishna delivers them. There are quite a few devotees who, judging by the way they left the body, went back to Godhead, who seem to be, the cases of Prabhupada's mercy. I wrote in that book, Jai Srila Prabhupada, about Buddhimanta Prabhu. Did any of you see him? He spent the last year and a half or something in Vrindavan. That was maybe 15 years ago. So he was one of the first devotees to distribute, one of the very first, I mean very, very, very first, to one of the first pioneers of Prabhupada's big book distribution. And then he did that in different parts of the world. And Prabhupada is very pleased with that. He practically got the big book, himself especially, and Keshav and Karanda. These three devotees, from what I'm told, they were the ones who started distributing Prabhupada's Krishna book in that time, in 2 volumes, big books. So anyway, he did a lot of book distribution, a lot of service. And Prabhupada was very pleased with that. We could have a lot of fun hearing about the stories of how he distributed the books. He was quite unorthodox. But then after Prabhupada left, he got into some maya. After some time he got headaches, repeated headaches, and got medical report that he had brain cancer. So then he thought, oops, I better become Krishna conscious again quick. So he went to Vrindavan, and the cancer eventually ate up his brain and he died. But he left this world in Vrindavan, in the association of devotees. So it appears that from the service he had done, that even though he attempted to forget Krishna, Krishna didn't forget him. and therefore manifested and gave him a good warning in the form of brain cancer. Now you have to remember me. So try to do service. It's not that we shouldn't try to control the mind, but it's the same thing that mano dur nigraham. It's very difficult to control. So we shouldn't be disappointed. We should be and shouldn't be. We should be we should be disappointed. We shouldn't be happy that I'm supposed to be a devotee, but I'm not. I'm not on the proper platform. But at the same time, we shouldn't be so disappointed, like one of my godbrothers, again in Vrindavan, around the same time, he committed suicide actually, because of his disappointment in his inability to control his mind. But that's not recommended. So we should go on serving, and at the same time pray for the mercy of the acharyas. Go on serving means just like if everyone who was afflicted by the bad thoughts, if everyone stopped serving and distributing Prabhupada's books and preaching, then there wouldn't be much of a movement left probably. There's a little comfort in understanding that we're not the only one. So a little comfort. I'm worried more about, here it's all written in shorthand. I don't understand, how am I supposed to understand? I have to decipher your shorthand. It'd be better if you wrote it in...
I am worried more about offences against the Lord during services than remembering Krishna.
Okay.
Saying that is seva parag, you say.
He's more worried about making offences than in remembering Krishna. Well, that's one way of remembering Krishna. I don't want to make offences to him.
You're saying we are supposed to develop love for Krishna.
Well, that's the beginning, isn't it? That's the beginning, isn't it? I mean, love is not such a... it's not like in the movies or something. It's not such a cheap thing, love. The beginning is respect for the Lord, that you don't want to make offences to him. So, that's a beginning. One pujari, again, going back years and years, he was offering like 5-6 artis every day, and he was telling me that at some point it started to get mechanical because you're just doing the same thing again and again. Then he took up the practice of reading Krishna book a lot and remembering the pastimes. So that he'd be off the altar, then he'd be reading, and then he'd be back on the altar and remembering, oh, this is the same Krishna who, he went into the forest looking for the Samantaka jewel and found Prasena killed by a lion, and like this, and found the lion killed. So in this way he remembered. So there's a suggestion. How much sugar a Brahmi should take per week? Is it required at all or not? Sugar. It comes from Sanskrit, presumably. Sakaram is Sanskrit. How much sugar should you take? Well, ideally, if you're going to be a real tough brahmachari, none whatsoever. But on the other hand, if you don't take some, you may not feel mental satisfaction. Again, somehow or other you're bringing back so many old memories of mine. So, circa 1976, at the famous Berry Place Temple in London, I asked the temple president that why did Prabhupada institute this Sunday feast program when after the Sunday feast everyone would they'd somehow or other climb up all those flights of stairs and collapse on the Brahmachari room floor and everything, all over the place. I mean, the Brahmachari room was about 40 Brahmacharis and about less than a quarter the size of this circle. So in the attic and on the stairs, and then for a few hours afterwards you'd hear these groaning sounds, I was thinking, well, why did Prabhupada institute this? And he immediately shot back, because if he didn't, we'd all bloop. So there you go. That's the answer. From a godbrother who's also leaving the body soon. Who was the temple president at that time. Oh, that reminds me. I have to make a note. I have to go and visit him before he dies, when I go to America. How to get rid of the criticizing mentality. Fault finding. Well, there are different considerations here. One thing is, if we don't see faults, then we can't help others who have them. Isn't it? Someone may be doing something and they may not know it's wrong, or they're doing it out of laziness, they're doing something which they shouldn't, they're failing to do something which they should. So there's a fine edge between the fault-finding mentality and the constructive criticism, helpful criticism. A lot depends on we have to examine our heart. Why are we saying this? Why are we seeing this? One thing is, if we don't try to correct our own faults and act ideally, then pointing out the faults of others won't be taken very well. If we are, we miss Mangalarti 6 days in a week, and then we come one day and someone's not there and we say, "You missed Mangalarti this morning." Who's going to take that seriously? Another thing is the attitude. It's just the same point. That people are likely to accept what we have to say if they can appreciate that we're saying it in a manner that is meant for their benefit. Which doesn't necessarily mean that you have to say it softly. It could be sharply and angrily also. But if someone only behaves with you angrily, then you might think that they don't like you. But if they're always trying to help you come up in devotional service, not this sentimental, what was that question the other day? All accommodating. All accommodating. Someone's passing stool in the temple room and, everything's okay, everything's okay, everything's nice, everything's good. This is nonsense. Not all accommodating. There are standards, they should be followed. This fluffy idea that everything's nice, whatever anyone does is all right. This is laziness, that we can't be bothered to point something out wrong. And it's also a case of tumbi chup humbi chup. I do everything wrong and you don't say anything, and you do all your badmasi and I'll do my badmasi, and it's everything's okay. You don't point out what I do wrong, and this can be dangerous actually in an institution, because anyway, that's another discussion. What's this? In the start of our Brahmachari life, we are very enthusiastic. This seems like a similar question. It's the same question that was just asked. And also, to remain Brahmachari throughout life and serve Guru and authority, what are the most important things to practice? It's a standard thing. Go to Mangalarti, chant your rounds. Often devotees ask, a question like how to do this, how to do that, but it's Krishna consciousness is very simple. It's how to do this, how to do it. It's already there. Everything's there. There's nothing. It's not that there's something different that we're hiding from you. It's all there. You follow the prophecy. You get up in the morning, go to Mangalarti, chant your rounds, read the books, do service, and everything's there. What else? What else is there? Is there some secret thing that we're hiding from you all? It's already there. Many times I observe that while doing any service together, I always compare other devotees. I can't understand. Could you present this in the third question? Present it in...
Many times I observe that while doing any service together, I always compare other devotees not doing the services properly and trying to avoid services. I know this is not good, but these thoughts keep haunting me. It spoils my consciousness, what I should do. He's saying that he's comparing with other devotees.
He compares, he thinks I'm doing service better than someone else.
Not doing so well.
What should you do? Well, what can I say? If it's not true, then just stop thinking like that, that's all. I don't know. I never studied psychology, so I don't know all these complex psychological, maybe you did something in your childhood or something. I don't know. Better keep it simple. Don't get into big psychological analyses. Just something's wrong, then just stop doing it. That's all. How to control anger. It's another how to, yeah. Well, you can remember the Mayavadis and get angry at them. Samta or prasanta hi Ishvar ki bhakti hai, says Long Beard Wala. His stickers on the trains, you see on the trains in Gujarat. He's very popular in Gujarat. Here they have their local. You have two famous nonsenses here in Pune. There's dead and almost dead. Osho's dead, and there's some sadhu. He must be almost dead, but he's old now. Huh? Must be. So get angry at them. I feel angry every time. I think it's such a rascal. Such a rascal. What is bhakti? He's so pure, so the real need of the jiva is to love Krishna. And this rascal is saying samta or prasanta. Prasanta means you indulge your senses in his line. Rascal. And his picture everywhere with his long beard and stupid smile, nothing about Krishna, and he's popular, so many people follow him. So we should be angry. If you don't feel angry at such rascals, then you're not a devotee. Just like, Ram is asking Hanuman to find Sita, and he said, just cool down. Hanuman says to Ram, just cool down, relax, and don't get angry, and try to be broad-minded and all-accommodating. Hanuman didn't say that. We worship Hanuman who burned Lanka. Not some all-accommodating, I'm okay, you're okay. Well, Ravana, I appreciate your point of view. Let's discuss it. What's your opinion? There's no such thing. You rascal! I'm not gonna kill you because I'm leaving you for Ram to be. I'm leaving you that Ram will kill you. He will have the pleasure of doing so. I'd like to do so myself, but I'm a servant of Lord Ram, so he should have the pleasure of killing you. I won't kill you personally. How to control becoming angry on a person, devotee, who we don't like? Well, it can be difficult. Maybe better don't interact with them very much. If someone you're not getting on with very well, try to see their good qualities. That was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's system. In the when devotees, among his leading devotees, there was certain leading devotees, there was actually quite a lot of malice, which after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left, it came up and it became the cause of the whole Gauriya Math splitting apart. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had a system that he would order those devotees who had some bad feeling against others to stand up in public at an assembly of all his disciples and give a speech praising that devotee. How about that? Or you can try talking to the devotee that I must admit, there's this thing about you I don't like. You can try saying that. Doesn't always work. Not every devotee is what we would call a very reasonable person, willing to listen to others. There are, some people are just very strong-minded and they think whatever they think is right, and then they're not willing to listen to anyone else. But they're chanting Hare Krishna. So you can remember Prabhupada's accommodating spirit. Not all accommodating, but he was very accommodating to anyone who showed some inclination to serve Krishna. These are good points for me too. These are good points for me. I can also improve in all these areas. Yeah. In ISKCON we see a variety of colors of saffron dress. Did Srila Prabhupada recommend any standards in this regard? Not, again, it's in this Brahmachari book, not very red, not rakta. Rakta Vastra Vaishnave Parite Najuai, not blood red, like the Shaktas. What about me? I'm in kind of Buddhist yellow here. Well, it's faded away now. It's quite yellowish before. No. Those days there was no chemical dye. That was that geru, that rock. Everyone used that. It's just that they didn't have it. The thing is with that rock, that it changes color every time you wash it, and you wash the cloth with that, and it re-dyes it every time. It's kind of blotchy colored, like that. Yeah. There's different. It depends where you get the rock from. The rock itself is not the same. It's not a chemically standardized red. It's, whichever source you get it from, it's different each time. So, yeah. All right. Well, my fault-finding mind didn't find that one to be a fault, so you're asking my opinion? Yes. And yes, it is okay. Is anyone saying it's not okay? No one's complaining. Wash also, won't it? So it's pretty difficult to get it uniform. It's not that different, what you have. The disciplic succession given in Bhagavad Gita, how is it that after Tirtha Puri comes? Please explain. Lakshmipati Tirtha, and after him comes Madhavendra Puri. Someone gave some explanation, but I can't remember it right now. What was the explanation of that? Maybe that Lakshmipati Tirtha was... that maybe Madhavendra Puri... Oh, someone was saying that maybe he took... Well, there are different possible explanations. That he took sannyas elsewhere. In the Madhva line, the sannyasis, they all have the sannyas named Tirtha. So how did Puri come? Someone gave some explanation, some possible explanation, which, to tell you the truth, I don't remember. There's some feasible explanation. Maybe he took sannyas elsewhere and he took shiksha in that line or something like that. It's this link between Lakshmipati Tirtha and Madhavendra Puri is a subject of much controversy to the present day, for people who are interested in controversies like that. Recently we saw a case of deviation from our movement, even though that devotee spent more than 15 years and was a prominent preacher. What is the precaution we should take not to fall down, and how do we judge our quality of consciousness and service which we are rendering in the movement at present? I can only say, keep on praying to protect me from fall down. Pray to the Lord, to Prabhupada. Keep on praying, and it does also help to, the kind of doubts that people implant in your minds. I addressed many of them yesterday. I tried to. So those doubts, it's also required that these be answered. That's when I said yesterday I need to write a book about it. People started laughing, but I wasn't joking at all. It's on my agenda to write such a book. I just don't know if the way my life is going on, there's so many books I have to write, and that one would take quite some research. So I don't know if I'll have time in this life. I was suggesting to Shyamananda he can go and do the research and write it. There are many books needed, because practically every single statement in Prabhupada's books you'll find someone at some level contesting it. So, and Prabhupada hasn't given backup for all his statements, because many of just like this point of the Sampradaya, it wasn't an issue when Prabhupada was preaching in the West. It's come up since that time. So if I could have answered, given that possible answer someone was suggesting for how Madhavendra Puri for Lakshmi Pati Tirtha, that would be much more satisfying to you, but unfortunately I forgot. So if you remind me, I could, when I remember, or when I go back to where I have my library, I could look it up and send you on an email. Although when I go to the place where my library is, I also won't have much time to go through all my books and find it. So faith also comes, it's obviously our faith in ISKCON and Prabhupada can't be just based on book knowledge. We have to be getting some juice also. That's why I was saying that Gopal Krishna Maharaj was requesting that I speak to his disciples who are going away, but I wasn't that much enthusiastic to do so, because some of them were ready to come by being pressurized to come, which means they're not really very willing to listen anyway. So if they're not willing to listen, then you can give all the philosophy in the world, but they're not listening. They're not sincere to hear. Their faith has gone somewhere else. Maybe it wasn't very strong in the first place. Maybe it was superficial. One thing is, parampara jano bhalamate. We should understand deeply what are the principles of parampara. Many times we see that it's, at least in my observation, it seems to me that I often speak against this very cheap approach to Guru, in which it's a picture on the wall, you wave some incense at and you say Jai Guru Dev, but you don't really try to hear or understand or follow very seriously. I was saying to some people, I heard that someone was telling me that they told someone they wanted to take initiation from him, and someone else said to him that, Bhakti Vikas Swami is very strict. And he said, yeah, that's what I want. So, if you're looking for a guru who's not very strict, then what are you looking for a guru at all? Guru should mean that you're accepting a guru to become a shishya, which means shashan. So, if your approach to guru is that you have a picture on the wall, and you wave some incense at it, and you pray for some ashirvad, and you think some magic wand you're going to get Krishna praying by watching TV, chanting your japa on your right hand and throwing in potato chips with your left hand, and Guru will give Ashirvad and you'll get Krishna Prem. This is all cheating. So our own approach to Krishna consciousness has to be very serious and deep. And then we'll find that Prabhupada has given us everything. But if we ourselves are superficial, then we'll be attracted to superficial people. That's all I can say. And we should find good association within ISKCON also, because there are many at least in my observation there. Sometimes we're in such a hurry to make more and more devotees, but we have to give some substance. It's not just a matter of catching a bunch of people, sticking a bead bag in their hand and putting a rubber stamp on their head, initiated. But some substance has to be there. What can we do? Shuratsya dhara nishitang durataya. We're going to raise his edge here. During my service in the sound system, I enter into the temple hall many times. I just fall down and come in, out and go inside. Is this an offense? What should I do practically? Actually it is, yes. It means going in and out. Because of service you have to go in and out, and every time you don't bow down, you just fold your hands. But actually it does constitute an offense. Although the tendency is that familiarity breeds contempt, but Prabhupada said that about pujaris and personal servants of the Guru, that the familiarity can breed contempt. That's why Prabhupada had the system that every time, even his personal servant, they're bringing in chapatis, every 2 minutes. Every time, come in, bow down, offer chapati, then they're going out again, bow down. Prabhupada had that system. So, you can do. You can say, maybe you won't say the whole mantra each time. Sometimes if I'm doing that, coming in and going out, I just say a concise prayer. Hey Bhagavan, hey Gurudev, prasida tu me. That's the minimum salute you should make, but something should be there. Then, anything else? Yeah, please.
Great. When rendering service in the Brahmachari ashram, how much should one try to serve according to one's nature, so that one can want this? How much one should
serving according to one's nature and serving according to requirements. As Prabhupada often said, do the needful. Yes, we should do the needful for spreading the Sankirtan mission. Usually when we come, people are engaged in lots of menial services to see if they're actually prepared to serve, and to inculcate the mood of selfless service, that you just, and discipline. And we should do the needful, but at this, if for spreading the Krishna conscious movement we have to do something which isn't to our taste, then, or which isn't our preference, then depending on our level of surrender, we'll be prepared to do that. When Prabhupada was first preaching in the West, there were quite a lot of devotees who were coming, who were from hippie background, artists, musicians, and many of them wanted to do music, do some rock band and this and that, and Prabhupada, filmmaking. In the case of Yaduba Prabhu, Prabhupada encouraged that, but he didn't, him and his wife, but apart from, there were others, but he didn't encourage all of them to do that. So painters and at least one devotee I know said, we already have enough painters, you go do this, do something else. So both things are there. Generally, especially now our movement has expanded, devotees, they tend to after some period of initial training, they often, they find their way to the kind of service that they like to do. And what you like to do, you're often good at doing that also. That you've found your niche, it seems. in writing. And I also, I wouldn't say I like to write, but it's just, I can't not write. It's the writer's scourge any time of day and night. You have to get up in the night and write something. This morning, right in the Tulsi Arati, I had to write something. When it comes, catch it. But we also often hear devotees say, well, I'm not going to do that. That's not my propensity. So you should engage me according to propensity. But no, one can't demand to be engaged according to one's propensity also. The surrendered servant does whatever's required. Someone was asking me by email what service to do, and I suggested they go on book distribution, and they wrote back such an angry letter. That's not my propensity. Is it anyone's propensity to go out and in the Western countries on the street among people who are totally degraded and have not even the slightest interest in these books and try to sell them to them? There's no one's propensity, but it's a great service to the Sankirtan mission. Propensity, yes, and do the needful also. Both things are there. Then, anything else? Sometimes we find that some senior devotee brahmachari rebels against the authorities. It shakes our faith as well. What to do in such a situation? Well, that's a very concise description of what is probably a very complex situation. Something that's probably, there'll be so many subtle factors. It's not just that someone suddenly, with no reason, rebel. I mean, there may be some long-standing grudge or what. It's a very complex thing. What to do in such a situation? Well, Srila Prabhupada was very supportive of the authorities in ISKCON. Even if it appeared to all the devotees that the authority was wrong, often Prabhupada would support the devotee in a position of authority, although sometimes he spoke of nasty management also. So, what to do in such a situation? I would say keep cool and let the appropriate authorities deal with it. Above the temple authority there are higher authorities, and hopefully the higher authorities will oversee that. Although in my observation, and actually it's not only my observation, and probably most people can observe, although to outsiders our movement appears to be very well organized, actually it's proof that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead that is going on at all. It can be very frustrating sometimes being in this movement with all the authority structures that exist on paper at best, and so what to say, what to do in such a situation? Chant some extra rounds. That's good advice in all situations. And Satyameva Jayate, have faith. If you're very mature and you're respected by both parties, you could maybe speak to both of them. But if as you say, it shakes your faith, then probably you'd better just remain aloof, because if you get more involved, your faith will be shaken more. Hey, and I tell you what, if you really want to have your faith shaken, then find out more about what's going on among our leaders, because there's all kinds of disagreements among them. But it doesn't stop them working together. So, Rabindra Swarup Prabhu told me once that, no, I didn't tell me, he said it in a lecture. He said it many times. I think he told me once personally also. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That he was going through some period, this is when Prabhupada was present with us, and he was he was the temple president somewhere, and he was seeing there's so many problems among our leaders and how we're all fighting together, and he was, this is terrible, and he was feeling very disturbed. And then Prabhupada came to his temple, and he said, I'm going to speak to Prabhupada about this. So I don't remember exactly, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but I'll give the essence of the story anyway. So he went in to see Prabhupada to tell him about all of, there's so much infighting in our movement, and it really disturbs me, and he went, and Prabhupada wasn't there, but there was a file on his desk of letters to Prabhupada, and he started reading them, and he started seeing all the problems of the movement all over the world, and he thought, wow, the things I thought were bad, they're not nearly as bad as I thought, it's much worse. And he thought, well, Prabhupada is dealing with all this. But when you see Prabhupada, he's always blissful in Krishna consciousness. And he goes on with preaching about Krishna. So then Ravindra Sarup Prabhu had the realization that these kind of things are going to happen in a movement in Kali Yuga. There's going to be all kinds of strange things, and things which could break our faith. But then you see what Prabhupada did. He went on chanting Hare Krishna, and that's the ultimate solution. We have to go on with the process. This, you all see that Krishna Katamrita magazine? The magazines are produced from time to time, and then fortnightly this Krishna Katamrita Bindu comes through on the email. Very nice, very sweet. So when that first came out, Madhavananda Prabhu, he got some bitter complaint from certain parties. That why are you writing all this stuff? Why don't you deal with the real issues in ISKCON? Why don't you provide a solution to the real issues? And Madhavananda Prabhu wrote back and said, this is the real solution. Krishna Katha. Also, I'm in biographizing, is there such a word? Anyway, I'm writing about the life, for the want of a better word, of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So in course of doing that, you hear so many things about the Gauriya Math history. It's a lot more interesting in some ways than ISKCON history. I mean, if you in terms of the infighting, it's pretty spectacular in some. But then, if you see what in the long run, what is the legacy of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Never mind. All right, there was fighting, there was this and that, but what did he give to the world? And even today, the Gauriya Math is split into so many different parties, but you'll find there are so many devotees, they're going on, they're chanting, they're worshipping the Lord, they're preaching. So, why concentrate on the bad things? You see the good thing. Of course, in our day-to-day dealings with Gauriya Math devotees and ISKCON devotees, we can't avoid these things, but seeing the big picture, or seeing the overall, that these devotees, they're practicing Krishna consciousness, and they've given something to the world. What the Gauriya Math has given to the world, fighting this, that, everyone's fighting, everyone in Kali Yuga is fighting, but what have they given to the world is something very wonderful. I was told once, one life member came to Prabhupada and said, I saw two of your disciples fighting. Prabhupada said, you're surprised they're fighting? I'm surprised they're chanting Hare Krishna. Everyone's fighting. Everyone in this world is fighting, but some people, despite their bad habits, they're dedicated to chanting the holy names of the Lord also. I mean, if your faith is shaken by some, I can tell you plenty of things, real stories from ISKCON, which, you'll be finished. Don't see only the external. Even if you think it's very bad, apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak. Even they're fighting, but they're fighting on how to serve Krishna. In Jaipur, as soon as I sit down, I feel sleepy. Same thing in Bhagavatam class. So I walk and chant. Then my mind runs more fast. A lot of energy goes in that. I feel more tired. Whoa, sounds like what's that called? There's some psychological condition, like super active mind or something like that. Hyperactive mind, yeah. Is it okay if I walk and chant all the life? Well, I do. I personally find it's better for me to walk and chant. According to Shastra, one should sit and chant, but then we see that Srila Prabhupada sometimes walked and chanted, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur sometimes walked and chanted, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also sometimes walked and chanted, so we can't say it's totally forbidden to do so. I generally find it better to not go for a long walk, but just in some area walk up and down, so you're not looking here and there. I personally find it better. That's all. That's my answer. I'm a fallen soul. Is jackfruit and ladies' fingers good for brahmacharis? I never heard that it wasn't. Although jackfruit's pretty difficult to digest. So in that sense it may not be good for anyone. But as far as affecting brahmachari, I never heard that it was bad for brahmachari. Drumstick? I didn't hear. Maybe it is. I don't know. Anyone heard that before? Bhindi? It's heating. But so many foods are heating. I mean, chili is very heating. Drumsticks not very. You don't feel hot if you eat chilies, drumstick sabji, do you? You don't feel your body becoming hot like you do if you eat chilies, is it? It's not very heating. Even I heard Bhakti Vidya Purna Maharaj saying once that carrot is heating, but it's not that much. I mean, there's definitely a difference between eating carrots and chilies, isn't there? Chilies is very heating. And tamarind is also supposed to be not good for brahmacharis, unless it's like 20 years old or something. I heard at the Kanchi, what's that called? Kamakoti Pitam. They only give tamarind which is like 20 years old. Is it? It's sourness? Sour things apparently are not very good. Increases heat, increases pitta. Sour things at night especially are very bad. Although sour things are good for cooling in the summer. Ice cream. It's not very good for health in general, is it? So cold. It's very bad for me. If I lose my voice for sure if I take ice cream. Buying ice cream outside that's not good. That looks very bad. Someone dressed as a brahmachari and going in the shop and buying ice cream, it looks terrible. Don't do that. Yeah. Okay. Alright, I'll take one more question and then I have to go. For various reasons, including physical reasons. Yeah. Preaching gives strength? Yeah, it can help to do so. Yeah. How much we should preach?
What is the need of what is the help somebody preaches for preaching?
Well, you said it yourself. Preaching gives us inner strength. It helps us. We get mercy from Krishna by doing so. Some people are shy to preach. Some people by their nature are outgoing. But some people by nature are very outgoing and it seems easier for them to preach, but the real test is in the long run. It's not just because someone has an outgoing nature that makes them a preacher. But the commitment to do so over years and years and years, that comes from the spiritual platform, not from some gregariousness that one might have imbibed due to his previous life activities.